So I assume you guys already know this, but just in case you don't, I find the beginnings of arcs in One Piece to be incredibly interesting and informative, especially regarding speculation and theories, because as you know, the beginnings of arcs, Oda does set up sort of where the story is going, we're getting to places, but on top of that, he also usually throws in little clues as that don't make a lot of sense now, but will make a lot of sense in the future, which will essentially telegraph events in the distant future and or straight up hint at a major plot twist. It's just one of those things that Oda really often does, and why he is, for a lot of us, considered to be a master of foreshadowing. We go back and we reread One Piece, and then there it is after we already know what's going to happen, and you're just like, wow, it was here the entire time. Or maybe this was the clue that we needed in order to predict and understand something that later happened. And also, guys, I've had some time to reflect on the first act of the Wano arc, and I think that there is a couple things. One thing that I want to specifically talk about in this video that might be crucial in understanding and predicting a major plot twist in the future. If you guys look at the entirety of Act 1 of Wano Kuni, what would you say was its focus? And I think we should all agree, right? I mean, there's little bits of a lot of things going on. We're setting up, recruiting all of the samurai. You have this off mention of Kitetsu blades. Obviously, you have Luffy thrown into prison fighting Kaido. But if you take it in its entirety, I think there's no question that the focus of Act 1 was Otama. And the reason why Otama was so important to the story was because of her Devil Fruit ability. So let's talk about it. Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, let's just get to the point, guys. I think that in regards to Otama's Devil Fruit ability and her role in the story going forward, I think that there is a plot twist in order. And I think that there is just enough evidence to be able to support what I think that plot twist will be. But yeah, guys, before I tell you what that is, I think that we have to discuss some things first. And so, first off, just so that we're on the same page, Otama's ability, clearly, she's able to pull Kibi Dango from her cheeks, which, as far as we are aware, is only able to tame or pacify animals. But actually, one of the bigger reveals from the first act of Wano is it's not actually just animals who can be pacified with Otama's abilities, it can also be smile users. But I made a mistake in one of my previous chapter reactions, and it was explicitly stated in the story, and I happened to forget. It straight up is stated that it does not work on humans. So, as far as what this means about smile fruit users, that they are in some way now become animals, which probably tells us a little bit about what smile fruits are and how that they are created. So I think that the obvious plot twist, we're going to put plot twist in quotes here, I think what the majority of us are going to speculate and agree on is it seems pretty telegraphed so far that Otama's abilities are going to lead towards many of Kaido's own crew being, quote, tamed and joining the Samurai Ninja Pirate Alliance. Now guys, I call this a plot twist in quotations, because it's not really that much of a plot twist. It seems relatively straightforward and what Oda is leading us to believe. Now, the execution of this is going to be interesting, but the idea itself is not really game-changing and not up to the level that I expect of Oda at his best. That isn't to say that I don't think that it would be good. I just think that Oda will be saving something else under his sleeve that we are definitely not expecting, or that the average reader would not expect. For me personally, and I assume that there's a lot of people out there who would agree with me based on how the headliners have been showcased so far, adding them onto the squad and turning them from enemy to ally is of inconsequential value. Guys, they are basically scrubs. Not only are they scrubs, they're scrubs that we don't really like or care for that much to begin with. On the hype meter, it's like maybe a 4. So yeah, as we speculated from some of the recent chapters, we can see that in the prison system, the headliners feed Kibi Dango to all of the prisoners, and that is in fact what they themselves eat. So it seems pretty easy for Oda to set up a situation in which Otama switches the Kibi Dango that they normally make with her own Kibi Dango from her Devil Fruit ability, which if any of the headliners happen to eat, like the prison guards, the hippo guy, then he would become an ally. I think that it's also pretty easy to speculate that we have some sort of major feast or event, the Fire Festival, going on a couple weeks from now within the story, and I would assume that there would be a lot of food there. And again, just another opportunity for Otama to possibly feed Smile Fruit users Kibidengo and turn them into allies. I do think that it is very important that Otama has discovered this use for her ability, something that she did not know before Luffy sort of egged her on into feeding Speed her Kibidengo. So now that she knows it can, should, and probably will be used, but as far as a plot twist, I think it's just middle tier at best. And so I think that there's two other speculations that would be relatively common, especially given what we've already speculated within the community, that I just want to address here quickly, as I do not think that they will happen. A big speculation, I'm a proponent of it still, is that Kaido is not an actual, like, a human who ate a dragon fruit. He is a dragon who ate some sort of human fruit, like a demon fruit or a giant fruit, an oni fruit. That is my personal preference. I think that makes the most sense given that he is called a thing and a creature. But even if we assume this to be true, even if it ends up being the case, Otama is not defeating and pacifying and taming Kaido. Please. Either it just won't happen, Oda won't touch it, or maybe it does happen, but then Kaido uses his own willpower in order to sort of suppress the abilities of the Devil Fruit. Either way, it is a no for me. Another thing that is not quite confirmed yet is that we know that her abilities work on animals, they work on Smile users, but what would its effect be on regular Zone-type Devil Fruit users? I doubt she's ever used her ability on a Zone-type user. If she tried, maybe it could be similar to the same effect that it has on Smile, possibly, but I don't think that she's converting any decently strong person. Someone like Jack being tamed by Kibidengo is of a similar level to Kaido, so that's again a no for me. So now that we've established all of this, let's get into my idea. And so the first thing that is very important, and I think that a lot of people end up skimming over, is Otama is of particular interest to the Beast Pirates. And the reason for this now is unknown, but I think where Oda has hinted at where the ability could be used in the future in a very surprising way. So here's what we know, guys, and there are two particular panels which intrigue me. The first of which is that you'll know that Otama used her abilities on the baboon that was subordinate, I guess, of Kaido's crew, and Kaido's crew became aware of this and reported this back to their higher-ups. And almost immediately after this, they devised a plan in order to capture and use her and her ability, which is how Luffy and Zoro and Okiku ended up confronting Hold'em to rescue Tama. Here's a quote: "As per the reports, we've captured the girl who tamed that baboon." And the headliner Hold'em had this to say: "Well done, she should be useful, bring her here." The assumption here is that the ability to tame animals, or that baboon, is of some use to the Beast Pirates. I think that it's also worth pointing out that Hold'em and his subordinates have already deduced that her ability is the power of an actual Devil Fruit. And so here's another quote from a flashback between Tengu Yamahitetsu and Otama. He says, "That power of yours would be very useful to the enemy. That's why you mustn't use your powers in front of others." So not only is this obviously apparently useful to the Beast Pirates, but even their enemies, Tengu Yamahitetsu realizes that they could use it, that they might try to use it. She has to hide the ability. Why? What is it that all of these characters know that we do not? And so, guys, I want to point some things out to you. First off, this was set up from the very beginning of the Wano arc, something that is we kind of take for granted now, but was clearly some kind of world building that could play a more important role later. As soon as we got to Wano, Luffy washes up into the shore and we can see two almost mythological creatures fighting each other. You have a samurai giant baboon and, a creature that looks like it's straight out of an old Japanese painting. And it is not just limited to this. We can see that when Hawkins encounters Zoro and Luffy, he's riding what appears to be a giant, mythological stag of some kind. It's just, the design of it is very Wano-esque. And his subordinates are riding what appears to be dinosaurs, or at the very least, giant lizards. We also got to see what Luffy dubbed a croco shark, something that looks like a mix between a crocodile and a shark. The point is, guys, is that one of Wano's more defining characteristics is it contains an assortment of fantastical creatures. And if it weren't any more obvious, guess who has control over or possession of the vast majority of these creatures that we have seen so far? The Beast Pirates. They're riding these dinosaur giant lizards. They're riding this mythological stag thing. Previously, the samurai baboon was part of their crew as well. It seems as though it is very clear that the Beast Pirates have an interest in taming and making the various animals of Wano their subordinates. Which honestly makes a lot of sense because they are the Beast Pirates and Kaido seems to have some sort of affinity with animals, being called something like an animal himself. So then using Otama's abilities in order to tame the animals of Wano and add them onto Kaido's crew, of course, makes sense. But I think that there is something very critical that I need to argue for, which makes this so much more profound and interesting. As far as I can tell, the Beast Pirates have little to no difficulty in taming and making these creatures their subordinates. So while Otama's ability, yes, would be theoretically useful, it's still mostly unnecessary and wouldn't really require them to go out of their way in order to capture her almost immediately after they learn of her abilities. Unless, guys, and this is the point, unless, guys, there are creatures in Wano that even Kaido himself cannot tame. And so this would be the plot twist that I am speculating. The Beast Pirates are interested in Otama's ability in order to tame the very strongest creatures present in Wano that we have not seen yet. And the very most obvious idea that comes to mind based on things that we already know is the possibility that Otama's ability will be used in order to tame the dragons of Wano. As a lot of you guys will know by now, before One Piece, Oda made a one-shot called Monsters, which was later incorporated as the past of the story of One Piece, and we actually got to meet the main character of that story, Ryuma, in Thriller Bark after he had died. And so his story in Monsters is his same story in One Piece. He killed a dragon in Wano. We can see Vegapunk trying to recreate dragons in Punk Hazard. Dragons are a real thing that actually exists in the world of One Piece. To have them in Wano would just make a ton of sense. And as a creature that Kaido himself cannot tame, which would make him interested in a Devil Fruit ability which specifically tames animals, makes a lot of sense. But I want to make this very, very clear, guys. It does not have to be a dragon or just a dragon. There's all sorts of crazy creatures in Wano already. Even the appearance of something like a nine-tailed fox would be incredibly hype. But you know, this plot twist sort of has two edges. You have a moment possibly in the story where we finally get to meet the hidden dragons of Wano, which would be so incredibly hype. Kaido excited for Otama's ability to finally be able to add them into his squad. But of course, I doubt that the dragons end up fighting for Kaido, because Otama is the one with the Devil Fruit needed to tame them. I think that these dragons fight for the good guys. Dragon Rider Luffy incoming. But you know, guys, I have another thought as well, and so this one doesn't seem quite as obvious, quite as straightforward as this last one, but maybe is a possibility, and definitely something that I just want to share with you. So we know that smile fruits have some kind of downside. Law told us this specifically in chapter 698 of One Piece. If smile or devil fruits are made artificially, there'd be no limit to the number of ability users he could have. And Law says this, yes, that's correct. But it seems that there is a risk in using these artificial ones. What is the risk? What is the downside of smile? Is it what we've already seen where people like Hold'em can have a lion's head sticking out of their stomach, which occasionally hits them in the balls? Or does this just hint at what the real downside is? The possibility that after consuming a smile fruit, you completely lose yourself and become that animal. So far, we have seen two distinct types of transformations from smile users. We have those who have gained some sort of ability from the smile themselves. So like a bat, now he can fly, now he can hear very well, now I can see 360 degrees. But then next you have those who sort of have like two distinct entities present within their body. They're human, yes, but then they also have like a living animal inside of them. We can see this with the hippo guy as well as Hold'em. It's almost as if they are joined with an animal, and in this particular case, these animals, given that they have heads, can think for themselves. There's only one other kind of transformation that is even possible, and so far has been conspicuously absent. The possibility that as you eat a smile and you transform into an animal, you actually lose your brain, you lose your head, and have only one head, that of an animal. So then, at that point forward, you are an animal. In chapter 689 of One Piece, Caesar is sort of introducing Smile to us, and he shows us Kaido's crew in the background having consumed Smile, and the silhouettes in the background are not really silhouettes, they're straight up drawn, is just animals. Oda here is depicting Smile users as animals. And again, coincidence or not, at near the very beginning of Wano arc, we can see a pig being chased by a tiger, being chased by a croco shark. Given everything that we've speculated, guys, I think that it's fair to wonder if these 3 animals, or at least 2 of them, were not previously members of Kaido's crew, having attempted to eat a smile and then fully transformed into an animal, unable to follow orders. So maybe Kaido's real interest in Otama's ability is not necessarily to tame mythological creatures from Wano, but rather add back all of the crew members that he lost, because their transformations of Smile went horribly, horribly wrong. And we haven't seen this yet, but I'd be intrigued if we did in the future. But what if there's a possibility of a Smile Fruit user having essentially multiple animals inside of them, a chimera of sorts, monsters? Or maybe possibly people who have transformed into Sea Kings. But anyway, guys, that is all I have to say today. As always, I'm curious as to what you guys think, whether you agree or disagree. Just share your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.